You're probably wondering, what the hell are we doing with costumes? But we actually believe that when you explain something in a fun way, it is easier to learn, easier to explain, to understand, and easier to remember. So, but don't be misguided by this, because we're actually going to talk about a very serious topic today, okay? And to prove it, I'm going to ask a very simple question that you will see that is actually not that simple as it seems. What are you wearing today? Okay, so I can see a lovely white blouse, a nice dress, a shirt, a suit. But what are you wearing? Do you really know what you're wearing? Do you know where your clothes have been made? You probably know the brand, right? Because you probably bought it. But do you know where have they been made? Like in what country they have been made? Or in what factory they have been made? And more important, under what conditions have they been made? You probably remember all the Gap scandals and the Nike scandals and all the sweatshop things from the 90s. And well, ever since then, supply chain, especially in the garment sector, have been a really, really hot topic. And society is really pressuring so that brands change their way they do things. And they can ensure their customers that they're actually providing goods and clothes that are actually being responsible, with a responsible supply chain. So, we want to develop our project in China. And why China? Because as you see, it's the biggest ball, and that means that it's the major player in the garment sector, the major exporter and the major producer of garments. What do we want to do? Well, we want to create a social enterprise and develop a game app for factory workers. So, in other words, we want to use fun to change the world. This morning, as IMSD students, we have learned a lot of things, and now we are more aware of these issues, and we really, really want to make a change. And we think that with this project, with Silk City, we can actually do it. This morning, we are here, and we will present our project, Silk City, in a fun way, as you can see, through a role play, because we take fun very, very seriously. So I present to you the supply chain heroines. Please, girls, present yourselves.
Hello, good morning. My name is Esther. I'm representing today Tony. I am the CEO of a multi-stakeholder initiative. Welcome.
Hello, good morning. I'm Jen. Today I'm going to play as the factory worker in China, Xiaodeng. Very nice meeting you.
Hello, I'm Eva. I'm actually talking to you from cyberspace because I am the game avatar that Xiaodong is going to use through the app.
And I'm Rocio, and I will be playing the CEO of our social enterprise, Silk City. And now, I'm going to tell you the story about how I came up with the idea of the social enterprise. Let the show begin. Oh, I'm very, very interested in supply chains. You know, we have this course in class. I'm really into it, but I don't really know that much. I really want to know more about the workers in the factories in China. Oh, how convenient! A factory worker from China!
Hey,
how are you doing?
Good.
Thank you. Oh, can you please tell us something about yourself?
Well, sure. My name is Xiaodeng. Deng in Chinese means light. The reason why my parents gave me this name, hoping I could be small guiding light in my life and be able to lead a better future. I came from a small town in the middle of China, Sichuan. As beautiful as the landscape scene, it had been brought a lot of inconvenience to our family. Like every day we have to spend many hours to walk to school when we were little. And my parents went to some important shopping, they have to change for many different vehicles to the nearby city. So I've been hearing a lot of stories from my neighbor that how different those big coastal area city are like, and how well the factory are willing to pay a factory worker. So once I graduated from middle school, I decided to go to Shenzhen, the special economy zone, to find a job with better payment.
Oh, tell me more about your work.
Right now I'm working in the factory producing garment for brand in Europe and US market. And although the factory work is a little bit boring, but I decided to stay there a little bit longer. Why? Because the factory actually paid me enough money to support my family. Yeah.
And if you could improve something, what would you improve?
Of course, I hope there will be a lot of things in future. What concerned me the most is the intensive long working hour. We have been working so much, especially when in peak season. All those rush orders just flush in. We have the overtime 4 hours a day. Imagine 12 hours working every day, and sometimes even on weekend. And because we have been working so much, I started to develop this sickness phobia after I saw an accident the other day happen to my coworker. She had been working for so long hours, and she got tripped by clothes piled on the aisle. And unfortunately, she burned her hair on the corner
my God.
of the sewing machine. So she had to go to the hospital and stay there for 1 entire week. And that accident cost her almost half a month's salary.
Half a month of salary.
Yeah, and because we do not have medical insurance.
Oh.
And honestly, I think the factory should at least bear certain costs, but no one will be saying anything, and no one dare to say. So if I keep working like this way, I guess one day the kind of accident would happen to me too. Yeah.
Oh no.
Well, other than that, I'm okay because the factory offers a accommodation. This is a dormitory that I share with another 5 girl. We are around similar age, and we be playing video game or serve online, and we have a lot of fun. We share the same hobby. Sometimes I feel like this, if this is only a highlight of my life, it's a little bit too bad when I compare to other people at the same age of mine. They go travel, their own nice thing. But I believe I work hard enough. Maybe one day I will be able to get them too. Oh,
Thank you, Xiaodan.
thank you.
I wonder why Xiaodan only mentioned few, very few, of the major and most common labor rights violations in China. Well, maybe she works in a factory that has actually good working conditions. No, I don't think that's the answer. Wait, I think I know the answer. I think that Xiaodan doesn't know her rights. But if she doesn't know her rights, then she cannot exercise them. I must talk to the CEO of a multi-star coalition and initiative so she can tell me more about it, because brands have been working in China for a long time. So maybe they will share information with me. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. Please tell me all about supply chains.
Well, where should I start? First of all, as a multi-stakeholder initiative, we have members. Those are brands of garment factories and also all kind of factories, NGOs, governments. And the problems that we are having, they're too much. We have problems with code of conduct. We have problems with audits, with trainings of workers in factories. I don't know where to start.
Nothing. What about the audits? They don't work?
The audits, they are a complete mess. You know, when our people go and place and do an audit at a factory, it's a show because they know that we are coming. So the workers are prepared, the workers know exactly what to say, what not to say. So audits don't work, and we are very aware of that. Not even the announced audits work because the factories already know what we are going to research about. So even in the best factories, this happens.
What a difficulty. And what about the codes
Yes.
of conduct?
You know, codes of conduct. All our members have different kind of codes of conduct. We have seen that, and they are not aligned. And you know something else about code of conduct? Sometimes the codes of conduct are somewhere in a corner. So nobody knows that they are there. The workers don't know. The language is heavy. Even if they see it in a corner, they wouldn't understand it. So,
So,
yes.
So actually workers then, they are not aware of the rights. They have not been trained properly about them.
No, because if a code of conduct is somewhere in a corner, then you understand that that's not proper training. So we have lots of problems also with training. Sometimes we have to train even between 200 and 500 people in one room. You understand that doesn't work. And also something that troubles us a lot is the fact that the turnover of the factory workers is very high, especially after Chinese New Year. 40% don't come back.
40%.
So it's no use training
So it's
today
like half
and
the
then
factory.
and then they are gone. So
Oh my God. And what are you going to do?
we don't know. Can you help us?
I think I just have an idea.
Great.
Well, on one hand, we have a problem. We have a problem. There are the factory violations in China. And on the other hand, we have a need because brands need more effective ways to monitor their supply chains. So, problem and need, we actually have an opportunity. And we want to take this opportunity and do something that really, really counts and matters. So, what do we want to do? As we already told you, we want to create a social enterprise. This social enterprise is called Silk City. And our enterprise has actually two components. It has a product and a service. The product is a game app for our factory workers. So a factory worker just downloads this game and plays it. And through playing the game, he will be learning about the labor rights and the codes of conduct, and if he detects that any of those rights that he's learning about is violated in his or her factory, then they can place a grievance and they can denounce this violation. That's the game application. And on the other hand, we have, and these are the training topics, on the other hand, we have the service. And the service is for the multi-stakeholder initiative. And it's actually the reports that we are going to create to them with very valuable information that we collect from the workers as they play. So through the information that the workers are giving to us, we will be able to know what the real conditions will be in the factories of all the brands. Sounds good, right? But I know what you're thinking. I know, I saw some funny faces there. Okay, is this feasible? What are we talking about? Games and apps and factory workers in China? Do they even have smartphones? Well, actually, research shows that Chinese people, almost half the population, have a 3G subscription and a smartphone. And moreover, the top application for smartphones are games. Chinese actually dedicate 35 minutes every day to play online games. 35 minutes. That's why in 2018, the number expected of gamers in China will probably reach almost 800 million users. So, to answer your question, is this feasible? Of course it's feasible. We are not crazy, or a little bit. So let's consult to our client, our user. What do they think about this? So, do you like it, Tony?
Well, I'm very, very happy. I'm very relieved
So glad.
because I was so worried. You saw me before. You know, first of all, I think that this app is going to be of a very big value for us as a client because we will get first-hand information from the user. All the reports that you're going to give to us, those are going to give us a really great view of how the supply chains really work and what the grievances are. We will also have a tool for our workers that will help in all the efforts that are already being done. This will be like an additive, like a good support.
Yeah, so you like it?
I like it so much, and better decisions can be made by our brands when they have to choose a certain factory. We can show them the reports. Hey, look at how this factory is performing. The workers know their rights. The workers are placing these grievances, and they are being solved. So that's very important. And we think that it also can reduce certain costs because if we do audits and they don't work well, I think the app is going to be like well, I'm not saying that the audits have to go away. Don't the others have to stay, but this is going to be a way to support everything. So I'm very, very happy. And you know what I like the most?
What?
I think that in the eyes of the brands and our other members, I think we will have a very nice. They will have a good impression of us because we are really doing something that engages the user.
Totally. Yeah, so cool that you like it.
Yes.
So let's see how Xiaodan feels about it.
Well, okay, yeah. I found this game idea is pretty fascinating. I imagine you had an application will allow you to play, have fun, at the same time be able to learn new things. Especially nowadays, we spend so much time on mobile phone. And I think it's a really good way to engage our generation to be part of this kind of training program. And, I'm thinking if all of us, like normal worker, be able to have the same kind of labor right knowledge as our manager does, we will definitely become much more confident in our real life. Not only our virtual community, but also real life. And maybe some of us will be able to apply the change to their real work, and help themselves, protect themselves, and even their coworkers. And for the grievance, not all of us are happy about our factory, but now nobody really saying anything. And the reason mostly because we do not feel comfortable playing any complaint, and we do not really trust our manager really are going to solve our problem. So I will appreciate a platform that allow us to file out complaint in an anonymous way. And it would be also good if you be able to pushing them to brand, to customer, to consumer, make them to be aware of our situation and generate a kind of change.
Okay, so you're gonna be the user.
Yeah, right now let me download a game application and I'm trying to start my own avatar.
Ta-da, I am here. So I am the avatar of Xiaodang, and I'm going to explain you how the sketch of the game works in order to teach about labor rights, allow to post grievances, and still be fun, because this is going to be the most important thing in our project. If it's fun, players are going to use it, and if workers use it, then our project is going to work. So first of all, they should download the application that's totally for free, do a quick registration where they only have to give the information, the factory location, and the gender. They can then make up a nickname because we don't want to push them with a lot of questions so that they get started. And then this typical authorization that we always reckon when we download apps. And this is actually going to be a very interesting tool for us because we are going to use all the feedback gathered through the app, which factories have the most number of workers using it, how their training is going. This is what we're going to use for the reports and also for our client so that he sees that the product is actually working. And finally, let's start playing. Well, this game has actually 4 mini games. And between these 4 mini games, there are 2 main games that are going to deliver the training. So these 2 main games are shooting and exploring. So what do you feel like doing? Well, I prefer like exploring right now. So I suddenly land in a wonderful world where I have to go on a quest and look for stuff. So let's see what I find. I start walking and
Silkworm eggs.
I have silkworm eggs. I don't know where I need them from, but I'm just gonna keep them. And I keep on looking and
Nice piece of garment.
a nice piece of garment. Okay, I'm going to keep this too. And they, you know what? They told me that there's this evil man in this world, and he is torturing people somehow. So I'm waiting to see if I find some people and they tell me what happened to them. Oh, hello.
Oh, hello, hello, hello.
What happened? Why are you crying?
My rights have been violated.
Oh, I'm going to have to take care of this. And this is going to be my training quest. This is going to deliver my knowledge. So let's see, what else do I find?
Someone stole my jacket.
Oh, the evil man is also stealing garments. So I'm going to have to go on a garment quest as well. Fine. So when I do all these things, I'm going to be able to pass the 4 worlds and finally defeat the evil person by proving knowledge on my labor rights. So, yeah, I was with Esther right now. You were crying.
I'm still crying.
So how will I receive this training? She's going to tell me her really, really sad story on labor rights. She's going to tell me in a cartoonish way, like we're doing right now. And this is how she's going to teach me what can be done and what can't be done. Then after that, I'm going to have to do this quiz to prove that I understood the teaching that she told me through her storytelling. If I answer wrong, she's going to keep on crying. But if I answer correctly, she's going to be happy. I'm going to solve my quest, and then I'm going to receive this pop-up. This pop-up is going to encourage me as a player to take a look around. Are you seeing something similar in your workplace? So now I'm going to learn, I'm going to detect, and I'm going to report. If you do so, click here to tell us. We can help. So here we go to the grievance system. Now, how do you post a grievance? Well, they would have to do a second registration because since they change a lot of factories, they will have to confirm again the factory location to make sure we target well the problem. And then it can be anonymous or with name and with data protection. And finally, the platform is going to provide the service of verification. This is when a user of a factory places a grievance, in the apps of other workers of the same factory, they're going to come pop-ups asking about this issue to see to what extent it is affecting the factory and be able to develop more targeted reports to the multi-stakeholders that will find them more useful. So all in all this training will have to be qualified, and we have to make sure that people learn, and this is going to be through a real exam, as we do in real life. But it's going to be a virtual exam in a virtual university. So this way, the player is going to gather score from all the games, take an exam once he has completed all his quests, and if he passes, he's going to unlock each of the 4 worlds. So there's going to be different training content in all of the 4 worlds, through which the player has to take an exam. And then finally, there's going to be a final battle with the evil person that is causing all this mischieving, and it's going to be a final exam, gathering all the information of the other 4 worlds. And then finally, all the characters of the world are going to be very happy with me because I relieved them from the evil person, I defend their labor rights, and we're going to have a graduation ball. So the second option would be to shoot. So this would be the simple game for those that don't really want to get complicated. And they would just have to shoot to the leaves and avoid birds to get into the silkworm box. So I would just pass one level and another. In this time, Esther will bump into me. I don't have to look for her. So the trainer will come up and...
My rights have been violated again.
And I will have to hear again the story about my rights, complete all the training. In this way, I would again have all the worlds of the different content. So you remember the eggs I had found? They turned into silkworms. This is one of the games that runs parallel to the others. We remember the Tamagotchi. And this is also going to give us score and engage more different type of players. Now, once the silkworms have turned bigger, they turned into cocoons. Yeah, and what can we do with cocoons? Well, we can have silk from the cocoons. And do you remember what we found also before, like accessories for customizing? So what is this going to allow me? Well, I just fabricated a new jacket for Rocío, and I solved my garment quest. So as you see, all the 4 games actually interact with each other and aim to target the biggest and widest number of users and make them engage, make them have fun, make them use the app, stay attached to it, receive all the content of the training, and of course, report about their behavior and the grievances that they're noticing.
So, Tony, do we have a deal here?
Ah, Rocio. Of course, we have a deal. You know, I'm very happy because I think the workers will get a voice. And I also think that we are going to learn serious things in a fun way. And we're going to make a smarter world, don't you think? So I'm really excited. I'm going to invest for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Round of applause for you because I think you all did a wonderful job. I've really enjoyed being in this process with you because as a group, you've had a great balance between the research and in-depth research and thorough, or that need of thorough research and that creativity approach. And bringing both of those elements together, I think has created a great product and a great service that is really needed in this industry. After all these 15 years working in supply chains and identifying those key issues or those key challenges that you have very well investigated and targeted, which is identifying those violations in supply chains, and giving workers that don't have a voice or a channel to raise those concerns. So having addressed those two issues in such an effective way, I think is great. I think it's a great service and a great product that I do encourage you to pursue and put in practice. I really want to also recognize the great effort that you have put in creating a business model. It's none of the background, I mean, neither of your backgrounds are in business. The master's hasn't given you such a big background on business, but despite all that, you have been able to use the tools to put in place a business model that I think can work, to make it not only practical, but actually doable. I mean, you could literally go out and raise funding to put this in practice. As you know, as you've learned, gamification is a way that more and more industries are using to solve their problems. And gamification has not come to the CSR world yet. So I think by putting these two worlds together, you're also bringing in a very innovative tool. So also congratulations on that. Yeah, I think you've done a fabulous work. So once again, thank you very much for letting me being part of it. And you must put this in practice. I don't want it to just be a master's project, which is great, for the AOE to have this. But I think it's much more useful at the factory floor, where workers actually can use it. So yeah, crowdfunding right now would also be very, very valuable. So again, congratulations, and thank you very much for letting me be a part of it. Okay.
Thank you. Do either of you have questions?
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations. It was very refreshing to see some really serious facts showed in this fun way. I think it's a great approach. I also agree with you. I think it's really important to bring these tools to the people that don't have a voice at factories. I just have some questions regarding the feasibility of an initiative like this in terms of the client or the companies or the multi-stakeholder organizations. First of all, how do you think you can convince them to prove that the claims or the complaints or the grievances that they're collecting or they're getting through these reports are authentic? And because this is a game and users are anonymous, and companies tend to not trust this kind of reports if they don't know where exactly they come from or who is behind these claims. So how can you convince the final user that these reports are actually showing a true picture of what's going on in the factories?
When the grievance system was explained, we showed that there was a verification process where, for example, if a factory worker posts a grievance, then in the apps of the other workers of the same factory, a pop-up will come up and ask him exactly about the same problem. Let's say he reports a problem with the machines. Well, a pop-up will come up in the apps of all the workers of that same factory asking, hey, do you think there is a problem with the machines? And then we will count like more or less like how many and do a percentage of how many of the users agree, don't agree, and send a full report to the multi-stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to add something. I understand that we have to convince the client before even starting with the project, but we in the business plan, we are planning to do a pilot with a few factories, and through that pilot, we think it's going to be successful. If it's successful, then that can be like a way to show and prove other factories and other multi-stakeholder initiatives that it works. So we have taken that into account.
Okay, perfect. And I had another question regarding the user, the factory workers. How could you also convince them to start using this kind of app? Because it's fun and it's a game, but they know, especially if you teach them what is this going to be used for, they know that they're actually filing a complaint or filing a grievance, and they are afraid of doing so. So how can you convince them to engage in this participation without being afraid of being punished by it?
Yeah, well, at the beginning, the game just starts being a game and providing training, and then the grievance pops up suddenly. So we're like trying to not put so much stress on it's a grievance mechanism, but more stress on it's a game that trains you on labor rights.
Yep. So for game itself, it had to be fun. Fun is a great way to attract more customer. In this case, we have to really think carefully how the game is going to be designed. That's why we have 4 mini games and 4 different words with different themes. And that's the game itself. Second, for Chinese worker, especially younger generation, we are targeting this younger generation who's about 18 to 25, and they like new things. So they will be spending a lot of time, actually this is reality too. They'll be spending a lot of time on social media, on online game, we have other data support. So we believe to provide a game application will make sense. And then another way, we also try to motivate them in a tangible reward. What we are thinking is we could be set up some sort of collaboration with those e-commerce, especially in China, we have many big e-commerces. They are sending out coupons with different other websites. And so, for example, if you playing this game, you will be, once you register, you will be receive a sort of like lottery. With this lottery, you will get a chance to win a coupon from the real supermarket or e-commerce. The online shopping is everywhere in China. So we're thinking about to motivate them from the tangible way or also intangible way.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you and congratulations again.
Well, thank you. Very well done. I met 3 of you yesterday, and I promised Esther to have a very difficult question for her. But I'm just kidding. Okay, I think it's excellent, and thank you, and congratulations also for inducing them to run risks in the presentation and to make something different. And as Lida was saying before, I think that on average, the 2 presentations we've had so far are well beyond the presentation we had last year in terms of creativity and risk. So I think that was excellent. And I think that the 4 of you were really really well concentrated into what you did, and so, I mean, you delivered, and it was excellent. The only thing I want to say is that I would be concerned if this were the first time I meet you, but it's not. So I know that you've done all that research as well, and I think it's reflected in the executive summary that I've read and also in the presentation, because I think that the risk about gamification is that people make it equivalent to good management. And gamification is part of a toolkit, yeah? Something like that. So it's just one element, it's not the panacea. This is not going to solve the problems, but this is going to help solve the problems, which I think it's good. But I think it's important to bear in mind, because for instance, when you reflected some data about China, you said that roughly half of the population are using smartphones. That's true, but if you add something in terms of 1/3 of the population living with less than $2, then you can find some affordability constraints in terms of having access to these services. So I think it's important to bear in mind that the complexity of what you've been dealing with, I think the topic is especially relevant. The complexity makes it necessary to say that gamification is just part of a policy mix or part of a toolkit.
Yeah, we actually have done some research about worker average wage in China. Right now, based on last year data, the 1 year entire salary, not just manufacturing worker, the other worker in China, is about $8,700 US. So, and when you compare the higher level and low level, we found a lot of workers, they are having wage about 250 to 350, because a lot of them are working in this coast city. You see, they are migrant workers. They migrate from the rural England area to the coastal area. For those coastal areas, all the cities, they have pretty high minimum wage right now. Take Shanghai, for example, the minimum wage is about almost $300 US dollar. And for Shenzhen and the other Guangzhou area, the minimum wage is more or less the same level. And for the poorest area in Inner Mongolia, their income is about 200 US dollar. So we took this into consideration, and especially for this, of course, young people allowed to having fun, entertainment, but do not really have a lot of money to spend on that. But that's why online game becomes so popular there. That's why all of them are dedicated so much time on there. So that's also one of the reasons that we believe this game, if we really going to promoting them to this brand and manufacturer, they will eventually going to play them. Maybe in the beginning they are a little curious, they want to try out new stuff, but later if they find out how they're going to benefit them in real life, this could be, I don't know, maybe we see in the long term.
Yeah, I wanted to ask also because we actually didn't have time to, but we have, as Elena mentioned, the whole business plan already developed, and we have an implementation plan. It's a 6-year plan implementation, and actually the first year would start with 10 factories, and these 10 factories are, of course, I mean, probably not the workers are most needed, but the most like consolidated factories are the most open-minded that will really receive this well, because part of the success of the implementation and part of the success of the service is not that we just promote an app like randomly, so let's see if some users find out and use it, but we also provide the service of implementing the app in the factory. So we go to the factories, we talk to the management, and it's a process but hand by hand with the factory management, we implement the service in the factory, and they also promote the use of this with their workers, no? And well, and since it's a 6-year plan, and actually the penetration of smartphones and 3G subscription is like increasing, we probably by the year 6 when we finish, probably that would not be a problem at all.
Yeah.
I want to add something. The factories, we understand that not all the factories in China are the same. We are sure that there are going to be factories and management that are not interested in their workers to know their rights at all, because that's not good for them. They just want to keep the workers the way they are. But we are targeting the first pilot factories that we are targeting are the ones that are more forward-thinking, and that we believe that it's going to be a good way to like give shape to this and correct everything that needs to be corrected, and maybe learn from them in order to implement it in other factories that are more complicated.
Something I didn't mention, but because you bring it up, I think it's really good. It is a pity that we can only do a 20-minute presentation, because there's really thorough research. And something that I really liked about the group is that every time through the research, they bumped into a challenge, like, wow, you know, what do we do here? They came up with a solution. For example, discussing a lot the job hopping, you know, the fact that once a year these young workers are moving from one factory to another. Well, what do we do, you know, with the app? What do we do with the training? So they, for example, adapted the length of the training that the worker is going to be receiving due to that job hopping culture in China. The data protection, you know, the fact that workers will not raise a grievance if their name is going to show up. Okay, so giving the worker the possibility to play online, offline, you know, so all of these elements that came through the research, I thought it was great that they actually incorporated into the product. And of course in the service, because one of the things, I mean, initially they only wanted to create a product, but then they said, well, if we don't as Lucia was saying, if we don't walk the factories hand in hand with them, and we don't help them actually implement it, it's not going to work. And that's how they came up with also, you know, delivering a service, not just a product. So I think that, you know, again, you know, congratulations because all those elements that came out of the research were incorporated in a very creative way. So, sorry.
No, that's fine. Okay, so thank you very much for a really great creative presentation. I'm debating who should get the Oscar. I have 2 quick questions for you. First of all, on the client, multi-stakeholder, multi-sector, I have to get involved here. I want to know how many multi-stakeholder initiatives we're talking about when you talk about this client. And can you give me some names of some of them? Can you give me some examples?
Okay. We have been looking at BSCI and at MEDA. Chuan Chuan is experienced in auditing in China, so she has worked closely with them and she knows exactly.
Yeah, okay. A multi-stakeholder initiative is an organization. They offer a free platform so that everyone, all the brand, all the factory will be able to join their group to be a member and use their code of conduct or the methodology and be able to establish cooperation with the factory and get contact to the accredited audit company so that they could have the audit performed and be recognized on this platform. I would hope there is a platform that I could show you. But there are in Europe, BSCI, Business Social Compliance Initiative, is based in Brussels, which is a really recognized, well-reputed association in Europe. A lot of brands, particularly German brand, and they are a part of this group. And right now they have about 200 members, mostly brand Lidl, Metro, and also I think they are having more influence right now because lately just merged another similar sort of multi-code initiative. Other than in UK, there is one called SMETA. It actually is, mostly we call it SADC. SMETA is also the same thing. You have member, factory, brand, you all could join this company and be a member. You pay certain member fee. You'll be able to have a quota that allow you to list down all your factory under your name. And if the other brand, they want to find a reliable supplier, they could also pay certain money to register in that kind of platform. And then with this money they pay, they could access to some basic factory information. And other than that, the factory report could also be shared to different members. So, consider what you've been saying. All different brands, they're having 1,000 audits in one particular factory, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. The factory really get numb with the standard. So it actually helps the brand to save money and to really focus on the area that need to by access to the similar reporting that they have been done in this factory before. And they see Europe and US, you also have Fair Labor Association, ICTI, that's an initiative for toys. So there are many of them. And I think, we could try to approach some of them to double it up.
Okay. It was just to know a little bit more about the plan. And then just picking up on some of the issues that Gonzalo raised that I think are really important. I love the fact that it's worker-centered. It's like the one on the women. You're kind of putting the main audience at the center and giving them voice, as Andres said, which I think is great. But I also, as you know, I'm obsessed with macro issues, and I wonder, and you don't have to answer this now, but the reflection on why is this happening and the wider issue about the state of a global business model that has fast fashion, which is hardly sustainable at its center, is something I wonder if you considered and could bring in some way that dimension too.
Well, it's actually in our report. We mentioned the just-in-time delivery situation that we as the Western world, as consumers, we go to a shop and we're like, oh, I want this pants, but in orange. It's not there. And in 2 weeks, it's there because we are the ones that put pressure on the workers, on the whole supply chain in order to meet our needs. So I think it's a good reflection point for all of us that whenever we're going to buy clothes, that we reflect, like, can this be this cheap or,
Is it the real cost? Yeah, and also I think that probably one of the main challenges is the CSR thing, because at the end it doesn't make any difference if you have a CSR department in just one area of your company and the other areas are just totally separated. So if CSR is not really integrated into the whole business, then companies are obviously part of the problem, of course. And purchasing area, the procurement area has a lot of responsibility there. And sometimes, they try to do their best, but at the end, they are trapped in this model of fast fashion. So it's actually a really, really challenge to incorporate CSR into the whole business and also to, I have no idea how, but to try to change this model of fast fashion.
I also believe that the societies that are most exploited and overworked and that have totally the rights not respected are those societies that don't have the knowledge. So if we start spreading this knowledge in the same way that globalization is spreading other tendencies, we can manage to have an educated world with people that are actually going to fight to not be exploited. So this is actually it has to be a process of delivering information and education to all the societies around the world.
Thank you very much.